Hey guys, welcome back. So today's video is a what sold in July. This is me sharing a brief overview of my monthly numbers, and then I'll jump into all the items that sold for over $40 on both platforms. I think that's about 21 items from this last month. And fun fact, I had an item sell for $1,000, which is my second highest sale in my reselling journey. So I'm excited to share that with you. If you are just interested in the high dollar sales, I'll be sure to leave a timestamp below so you can skip to that part of the video. My gross sales from both eBay and Poshmark broke down to $7,453. When you remove the platform fees, the shipping discounts, the shipping costs on eBay, it left me with a payout from the platforms of $4,135. And just because I know some people are curious about YouTube and what's possible with a channel approximately my size, I made $1,909 from YouTube last month. All of that is ad revenue, except I did do one sponsored content. So I did get a payment from a company that's included in that as well. So in total, my net payout of the month was $6,044, which is not my best month, but it's not terrible, especially during kind of a slower time of year for pre-owned clothing online. So keep in mind, I do run an annual anniversary sale. I guess that's obvious that it's annual, an anniversary sale every July for the first few days of the month. So it does skew my numbers a little bit, but I'll be sure to tell you which items sold from the 50% off sale, just because maybe they could have actually sold for more if I had held out for a buyer that wasn't part of the sale, if that makes sense. Also, I know some people want an hourly breakdown. I don't keep track of my hours. I have decent work-life balance, but I came from salaried jobs. So if I had this amount that I was making every month, it would break down to about a little over $72,000 in an annual salary. And it could be better and it could be worse. So I know some people are just curious as to what is possible for someone who doesn't have any employees, doesn't have any help from a husband or kids. Just a one-man show here with very little overhead as far as business costs. So I don't think it's too bad for where I'm at, but it does kind of take a lot of work to get to this point, both on reselling and YouTube. So I have about 1,500 items active on my platforms, and I do spend quite a bit of time each week on YouTube. I would say probably about 6 hours a week on this YouTube channel, and I spend a little bit more on my other channel because it requires more editing, but that's an investment, and that channel is growing, so I anticipate those numbers to grow as well. So I sold 249 items. The average sale price was $29.93. It really skewed there because I had that one item that sold for $1,000. So if you removed that one item, that kind of skews the numbers, it would really be just over $25 average sale price, which isn't terrible. I pick up and sell things at all price points because I don't source very often. I'm too far from sourcing to go very often. So I do sell items for, especially this month during the sale, a lot of items sold for $10 to $15 because they were 50% off. And, but I still sell things for $1,000. So I'm kind of all over the place. My business model is that way for a reason. I know some people don't want to sell low dollar items, but for me, it adds up. So it pays my bills. All right. So that's kind of my numbers from the month. July is, definitely not my best sales month. So I am hopeful that this fall things will pick up a little bit, and I'm just going to keep listing. I also think that because most of my anniversary sale items are sold on Poshmark, partly because of the bundle discount, shipping discount, partly because I think a lot of my social media followers are Poshmark sellers. I'm pulling a lot of items on eBay, like deleting listings because they're selling on Poshmark. And I feel like it always messes with my eBay numbers a little bit, but it's okay. It's fun to run a sale and give a good deal to people. So, all right, jumping into the items that sold for over $40 for me, I'm gonna start with Poshmark because I had that $1,000 sale there. If you are new to Poshmark, or maybe you just didn't know this, if you sell something for over $500, you actually ship the item to Poshmark. They have an authentication team there that will authenticate it, and then they'll ship it to the buyer. So it's definitely buyer protection and seller protection when you go that route. I don't sell a lot of items over $500, so I've only done this once before, and yeah, it works out for everyone. This item was an Issey Miyake piece. It sold for $1,000 and really unusual, fun piece. I was so excited when I found it. I think it only took a few months to sell, and hopefully the buyer enjoys it. I love finding unusual pieces, especially when you're not sure how to price and you just take a chance and you get a great offer. So I was really excited about that. Next up, I actually sold 2 pairs of Tory Burch shoes. It's not a brand I find very often, and it's not a designer I'm really drawn to. But I'm happy to pick them up if they're cheap enough, because I do see mixed comps. This first pair actually sat for quite a while. I want to say about a year or more. It was a pair of kind of this greenish, tannish color sandals. I thought they were adorable. They sold for $50, and I was happy to see them go because they had been sitting for a while. The other pair of Tory Burch shoes was more of a recent pickup, and this sold in my 50% off sale. This style seemed to be a pretty desirable style. It kind of had a low wedge, seemed pretty comfortable for a cute pair of shoes. So these sold for $50 as well. Next up was a Longchamp bag. This I may have priced too high, but I think this sold in the anniversary sale as well. So it sold for $64. It was this black leather. Longchamp is hit or miss as far as when I see it. Typically, it's the kind of foldable bags, great travel bags, the nylon ones. There's a lot of fakes of those. So I typically don't even pick those up really, but this was a really great quality, like not structured, it had some give, but a really great leather bag. And it sold for $64. I'm happy with that. I can't remember what I paid for a lot of this stuff, but I know it definitely wasn't much. Next up was a designer that was kind of new to me, and I don't know how to pronounce it. Anine, A-N-I-N-E, Bing. I believe it's a New York designer, and I got this in a ThredUp box. I thought it actually said Annie, but A-N-I-N-E, however you pronounce that, is the name. This was a sweater that kind of had a cutout on the back and then a tie at the neck. It kind of had an eyelash fringe material. It was fairly basic. I didn't really know how to price it because some of the comps were mixed for this exact item, but it sold for $50. So I'm very happy about that. Next up was a Patagonia item that sold during the 50% off sale. I'm really happy it went to a buyer, a viewer, but that was a relatively recent picked up item, and I priced pretty high. I priced it at $240 because it had this technology called Reco, and it actually was written. Basically, it's technology that if there was an emergency and if let's say you were out hiking or snowboarding or something and there was an emergency, there's some technology where the kind of search and rescue or whoever would be able to find you. And so I priced pretty high. So it did sell for 50% off. I think it could have sold for more, especially going into fall and winter being a jacket. So I'll definitely keep an eye out for that Reco technology because yeah, it's unusual to find that. Next up, what did I say how much that sold for? $120. Next up was an Oscar de la Renta dress. This is a designer I see pretty often and I almost never pick up because there are some cheaper or more affordable lines. I tend to find a lot of these sweaters for men. This dress, however, said made in Italy. This is an actual classic Oscar de la Renta piece. So I priced pretty high. It sold for $74 and it was really nice, I believe, sheath dress, nice career dress. And I was excited about that. This next item has a story, and I can't remember all the details of my research, but I sold a pair of Rothy's, and Rothy's are faked pretty often, and there are lots of people who put posts on Instagram kind of sharing some of the markers. I'm not going to get down to the breakdown of it, but I researched on 3 different websites and also a Reddit forum where people were talking about how to identify if Rothy's were real. And the one thing that made me nervous was there was some glue that you could see, some visible glue. But I found a couple different platform or sites that said the glue is not an indicator that it's faked. There were other indicators of the logo facing the right way and being the right shape, made in China. I can't remember all the details, but I did do quite a bit of research on this item. These pair of Rothy's sold during the anniversary sale as well. So for 50% off, it was a expired or discontinued color. So these sold for $70. I did get a message from the buyer, worried that they were fake, and basically they had compared them to some authentic Rothy's of their friends and that the glue was concerning. The one reason I don't do direct sales is because I want to make sure that every item I'm selling has some buyer protection by being on a platform like eBay or Poshmark. It puts it back on the platform, which is why we pay fees, is so that, some of that stuff is handled by the platform, but also so there is buyer protection. And if I buy something, I would feel more comfortable buying it if it's on a platform. So I did reach out back to the person. I think I was car camping at the time, so I wasn't even home. Didn't have the best cell reception at that moment, but I did respond and say, please contact Poshmark if you're worried about the authenticity of this. I don't know what happened with that situation, but I did try to do my due diligence. I don't ever want to sell anything fake, certainly not to a viewer. And like I said, the one thing I learned with my research was it had all the markers. The only concerning part was a little bit of glue showing, which, Rothy's is not I've only sold it one other time before this. And so if you are interested, I can't remember the links of the sites, but if you just do a Google search on Rothy's fake or how to authenticate Rothy's, there's a lot of information online, and there's some pretty clear indicators of the fakes. So I hope it all worked out for the buyer. And I definitely encourage people to do research when you have something that is faked often. All right, next up was a bag. It was a Patricia Nash bag. This was new with tags, but it had some wear to the leather, like a little bit of cracking in spots. This was a great tote bag. I don't even think I had it in a haul, to be honest. It sold so quickly, but it sold for $85. And I was really happy about that because I was nervous about that cracking. Next up was a Derek Lamb dress. This has been sitting for a while. I feel like probably over a year. It sold for $44, and it was a kind of a harder item to photograph because it was black, but it had these subtle stripes on it and like a texture. So yeah, really adorable cocktail dress. So I was happy that went out. Lastly on Poshmark was a pair of Levi's. The style of Levi's was men's. It was 560s. And I had seen quite a few people post on Instagram about these selling well, and I found them for a couple dollars, and I picked them up, and I thought they were just going to be an immediate sale. And they took, I want to say, a month or two to sell, which isn't terrible by any means, but I guess I was expecting it to sell like overnight if they were that desirable. They sold for $45 though, which is great because the comps are a little mixed. So I was really happy about that. And I'm keeping an eye out for the 560s. I think it's a discontinued style, which is why they're popular. All right, on to eBay. I had first up a Brighton jacket. I recently thrifted this at, I think it was my Deseret video, Thrift With Me video. I picked it up there, and it had all these it had these hearts on it as the size indicator. I believe it was a 3X or 4X, something around there as far as size. And it sold for $51.80, which I was really happy about. Next up was a pair of Lululemon commission pants, so men's athletic pants. They sold for $41.30. I've sold this style, I think, once or twice before, so I do like picking up Lululemon for men. It usually sells pretty quickly for me. Lululemon for women, on the other hand, man, sometimes that can sit for a while, but yeah. Next up is hard good. I do sell hard goods, and I don't usually show them in thrifted hauls because I think a lot of people watch this channel for pre-owned clothing, but I think it's fun to share the hard goods sales that are fun. This is a brand called Jurger. It's a chess clock, and I found it at the bins. I did not test it. The box was mangled. The inside of the clock seemed to be in good shape, but this sold for $95. and I clearly put it had not been tested. I know nothing about chess, but I was really excited about that. I know some people say like, how would you know to look something up? I think the more you resell, the more you just learn like that seems unusual. I want to look that up. And you can kind of spot just junk. So it just, you see a lot of junk. And yeah, I was at the bins with my mom, and I remember one of us picked it up and looked it up, and some of them were selling 150 plus. Because I didn't know how to test it, I was happy with the 95, especially because I probably only paid $2 for it. All right, next up was a Levi's trucker vest. This was a men's vest. I believe it was an XL. This sold once, and then the guy made a mistake and asked me to cancel, and then it sold like a couple days later for $49. Really happy about that pickup as well. I can't remember if there was a minor spot or something on it. So, all right, next up was another hard good. This sold for $49, another untested item, and it also was chewed up by a dog. I'm not joking. It was this anti-barking system. The brand was called Good Life. And again, bins pickup, looked pretty unusual. I have a dog. She's not a big barker, but I know that would probably be really annoying if you have a dog that's a big barker. So this is some sort of system where it's like some high-pitched sound to get them to stop. I can't remember, and I didn't do too much research, but the comps looked good. It, again, the remote of it, I think there was some sort of little remote. It was chewed up by the dog. So I disclosed everything, untested, chewed up by dog. It still sold for $49 within, I think, less than a week. So next up was a men's Patagonia. It was called a waffle pullover. I was really surprised about this. I mean, Patagonia usually does well for me, but not this well. I priced it $59. This style, apparently, I don't think they make it anymore. And this had some light pilling, but it still sold overnight in like 2 hours for $59, which is great. Not all Patagonia sells for that much. Like I was kind of expecting probably about $40, but again, I guess this is a rare item. Next up was a fun one. This was a brand, Muriel Brandolini, I think is how you pronounce it. This was like a caftan dress. I thought I priced really high. I priced at $199, but the comps were pretty good for this designer. And I'm like, okay, I'm just running with the comps. It sat for I want to say a month or two, and then I got an offer for $150, and I'm like, wow. It was a very unassuming piece. And so clearly I priced okay, and it's off to its new home. And none of these have been returned. eBay, I do allow returns, buyer pays shipping. So none of these have been returned. I did sell a pair of new Rag & Bone jeans this month, and it's not part of my numbers. And someone returned them for fit. So they pay the shipping to themselves, and they pay the return shipping. And so I don't lose any money. I just relist the item, which is really easy. As far as I know, a lot of people are like, oh, can't people just wear the item and return it? I don't really stress about that stuff. If it happens occasionally, I don't get too many returns, usually only a couple each month. And for me, if something doesn't fit someone and they aren't a reseller, I would rather them have the ability to return it, and they are paying for that return both ways. So I'm happy. I've been doing returns on eBay for a year and a half, and I've never had any issues. So that's just my own personal take on it. But I was really excited about this caftan, and especially the price. Next up was a pair of pants by a brand called Viore. This brand, I mean, I've only sold it twice, and if I ever found it in my size, I would keep it because it's kind of an athletic wear, casual, kind of, you could wear it. Anyways, they sell a lot of really comfortable, cute clothes for active people. And these pants sold for $60 in a day. Highly recommend picking up this brand if you ever see it, because it's sold very quickly for me both times I've sold it. Next up was an Isabel Marant, beautiful black lace blouse. This was not the Etoile line. I think that's how you pronounce it. It wasn't that line. It was the actual Isabel Marant line. I priced pretty high, but it still sold for $139.30. And it took a few months. I'd say it probably took about 6 months to sell, but for that return, I'm very happy. And they it was on 4th of July that they bought it, and they wrote me a little note, happy 4th. So, all right. And lastly was a pair of sandals I've actually sold twice. The first time they were returned for fit. This time they sold for $45. and they were just kind of this wooden sandal, heeled sandal. The designer's name was Colleen Cordero, and I've sold this designer a couple times. Mixed comps, usually not a quick seller, but usually a decent return. So anyways, that is it for my sales and my numbers. I hope this is helpful in case you are not necessarily wanting to compare, because I don't think it's good to compare to other resellers because we all have different situations. I am a single income household with no help in my business. So, very minimal business expenses. So, what I make here is just a lot of work, and I think it's fun. And yeah, I'm excited to share because I know people are curious. So anyways, that's it for my What Sold. I will definitely be back with another video soon. I hope everyone's doing well. Bye.